At ease, Guardians. Welcome to the Tales of the Frontier. Before I start, and as always, I will be using a system to discuss the certainty of a theory. This system consists of 5 levels that describe how supported each theory is. The levels are always in the description below and are as follows: speculation, possible, probable, likely, and confirmed. My name is Captain Kix, and today's subject is the First Pillar Order. When the city first was forming, the Risen banded together to protect the growing dream that will become the city as we know it today. Those the Risen, though who will become known as Titans, were tasked with the protection of the city and its citizens. As the city grew, these Titans began to form orders of like-minded guardians. One of these earliest examples is the First Pillar Order. The order is remembered through 2 marks worn by today's Titans. First, mark of the first pillar reads, Titans trained to fight on dangerous ground, a first line of defense against any crisis. And then the second, first pillar mark. The many strategic victories of the First Pillar Order are not without cost. Little is known about this order, but the description makes it probable that this order was created to protect the city and its inhabitants. This will place them as early as the Battle of Six Fronts and the building of the wall, alongside the Iron Lords. The order seems to have survived past this though, stretching as far as Twilight Gap, meaning their members could have participated in all major battles of the city. While it would seem that this is mostly a defensive order, it would seem that this order also participated in offensive maneuvers or ventured out on missions, probably or possibly as described on the mark of the first pillar, to train. There are 4 known members of the First Pillar Order, all who are remembered through the Murwai armor. First out is Gunvor the Dawncaller. The Murwai Type 0 helmet reads, Gunvor the Dawncaller gave her full last measure at the Ocean of Storms, the last stands of First Pillars. A personal side note, I love that name. Gunvor gave her last full measure at the Ocean of Storms. Now, the last full measures should be read alongside the last stand, meaning Gunvor met her death at the Ocean of Storms. It is unknown if this is a reference to the Marian Broom disaster, possibly, or just the general area. However the case, Gunvor gave her all on the moon to protect the city. Next up is Luke Romanji. Murwai Type 0 chest item reads, Luke Romanji gave his last full measure in the European Dead Zone, the last stands of First Pillars. Luke made his last stand in Old Europe. Almost nothing is known about the European Dead Zone, so it's hard to speculate at what really happened to Luke. I would say it's possible that his tide met his end exploring or training in this unknown area, possibly even defending small settlements like the one that's hinted in Destiny 2. Third out is Kei Jing. Murwai Type 0 Legs reads, Kei Jing gave his last full measure at Twilight Gap, the last stand of First Pillars. Kei Jing gave his all during the Battle of Twilight Gap. The great battle will fall and try to push through the outer defenses of the city. This battle marks the point at which the city stopped expanding and focused on its perimeter defense. This battle is the last large battle also known for the city. The battle was won, but many guardians fell in pushing back the fallen onslaught. Kei Jing's bravery alongside many other guardians that fell that day saved the city from potential destruction. Last out is Amanda's Whale. Murwai Type 0 arms reads, Amanda's Whale gave her last full measure in the Cosmodrome, the last stand of First Pillars. Amanda is the last known member of the Pillar Order. She made her last stand in the ruins of the Cosmodrome. There's actually a quote from Amanda as well. It's the quest Create Orbs of Light. He stood atop a hill, his shield straining under the hundreds of fallen weapons. I do not know how he held, but he did, and in the end, the fallen were broken upon the battlefield. Amanda's Whale. This seems to describe a stand of its own, by an unknown guardian, possibly another of the Titans from the Pillar Order. Amanda died in the Cosmodrome, possibly during the time when the Cosmodrome was being scouted by the 6 Coyotes. These are the known members of the first Pillar Order. 2 of them could have met their end during great battles of the city, and 2 seem to have died exploring or venturing into unknown territory. Titans are often referred to as pillars of the city, and I think it's highly likely that this is where the name the first pillar comes from. They are the pillar upon which the city is built, and the protectors of the dream of a new age of humanity. These brave Titans gave their full measure to protect this dream, even if it was on a battlefield far from the city. Honor these guardians by wearing the mark when you visit the Tower Guardians, and who knows, perhaps there are still some of the first pillar out around. I hope that you have enjoyed this first shaky episode. I'm sorry for being a little bit nervous actually. Please show some support if you want me to continue making this kind of content, hopefully boosting my self-esteem, and I'm sure you will find good ways to do that. Dismissed, Guardians.